Good afternoon, everybody. Our massive crowd that we have here today, and for anybody viewing online as well. Joe Billingsley, very happy to have the opportunity to discuss some of my research with my PhD student hat on and explain a little bit of that. Given the limited amount of time we have here, I am going to have a summarized version of what I recently gave over at the Smithsonian. Our agenda. So first of all, feel free to interrupt in this discussion here. Also, I'm speaking as myself and not as a representative for any particular organization, particularly the Naval Postgraduate School where I'm a PhD student with. So a little bit about my own background here, BA in history, MS in cyber systems and operations, PhD student in information sciences, some professional background as a former Army officer with a background in strategy, signal networks, intelligence, strategy, and all kinds of fun stuff, music management, private sector work, and founder of the Military Cyber Professionals Association as well. Bottom line up front, as far as what this particular set of research is about theory testing and extending existing theory from network science into the field of innovology. And what I have found in the course of my research is that innovations are adopted in a bursty pattern, and that is the reason for that is because of the underlying social network structure, the topography, and then the common events or drivers that then spread across these social networks, which we're going to get into more in detail. And about the so what here, we can apply this when we consider innovation as the adoption of a change of practice in a community. We can apply that to actually a very broad spectrum of dynamics, whether we're talking about in business and marketing, counterterrorism efforts, intelligence gathering and targeting, community recruiting, and from the more academic theoretical side, temporal network theory. So the pattern that I stumbled upon in my research is that if innovations are adopted by people, which they are, people are part of society, and society has a scale-free network property to it, which I'll explain a little bit more in detail soon, and that power laws and bursts are characteristics of scale-free networks. And given that we have a successfully adopted innovation across the social network, and it's large enough, and we have enough data to take a look at, then what I have found is that the pattern of innovation and adoption across social networks is bursty and follows a power law distribution. So when we're talking about a power law distribution, this is what it ideally looks like here. And the bottom line here is that we have very few instances of many adoptions and many more instances of fewer adoptions. And if that doesn't make sense yet, it will. So this is just a guide to research here. So the observed problem is really a lack of understanding in these types of network dynamics, and a lot of challenges associated with that. That lack of understanding of these dynamics, increase costs, a lot of wasted time, and of course lives lost when we apply that to national security and defense type of situations here. So part of the intuition, if you will, was based on my readings as a PhD student into network science. And one author, Barabasi, a physicist who got into network science, published widely on it, had observed that once power laws are present, bursts are unavoidable. And no matter what human activity we examined, the same bursty pattern greeted us. So what I had found as I stood up and grew the Military Cyber Professionals Association, and if we operationalize that as an innovation that is being adopted with each new member, I saw this bursty pattern in how people were adopting this innovation, joining this organization, this network. For example, a perfect example of a burst. So as you can see here on the graph on the left, this is in the first year of the organization, and here we plot out on different days how many people. It's basically a frequency analysis here. How many people joined that particular day? As you can see by the lower numbers at the bottom, there's a higher concentration. So again, many of smaller examples of adoption and very few larger examples of innovation that we can call bursts. So yeah, this is a particular example of a burst that we identify here was the result of a senior leader in the NAPL community shooting out an email about this organization to their network, and then of course that resulting in a burst of people joining the organization / for our research purposes, these people adopting this particular innovation. So what we're looking at theoretically here is a gentleman by the name of Rogers, decades ago, did a lot of research and publishing on innovation distribution. And so he was looking more at the top level kind of patterns here, and this is a very famous graphic of his. And basically what I've been able to do with the data sets and the analysis and leveraging big data analytic aspects into my research is understand kind of what's going on under the hood to get to that, that total there. So when we're talking more about scale-free networks, we could get into more details about that, but some of the characteristics about it is that across any kind of scale-free network, like society, regardless of the place and time, is that you have very, very few hubs of very highly concentrated nodes within that network, and the vast majority are less connected. That's the bottom line of that. And that pattern influences, of course, how information and then therefore adoptions are adopted across these social networks. And quite intuitively, when a hypernode or somebody, one of these very few, very well-connected nodes within the network adopts this innovation, then their immediate network of contacts finds out about it and more likely to adopt it themselves, resulting in a burst of innovation adoption. And so the method to my research is what's called in statistics, basically taking a look at the pattern and curve fitting here, where when you order up from largest to smallest, all the bursts in this network, with the largest being on the left side and the smaller ones being on the right. Again, we see this this exact same pattern emerge. So on the left-hand side, that's an example of a good score, if you will, that is in line with the theory that I propose here about the bursty innovation adoption pattern, and the right is a bad fit, if you will. So those are research questions, which again I can provide more depth offline if you like. Collecting data sets has been very difficult because a lot of particularly data sets from the commercial sector, which would be great to get my hands on, are all proprietary. So I've had to get kind of creative with how I get this rich type of data to be able to look at these types of things. So these are a few fully analyzed data sets, one coming from the MCPA, because of course I have pretty much unlimited depth of a very rich data set there. Millbook, which is an online collaboration platform, and also thanks to the Counterterrorism Center up at West Point, I was able to get a very rich data set concerning the Islamic State and foreign fighters joining it, / individuals adopting that innovation. So the MCPA, you may be familiar with. If not, go to millcyber.org. Very bursty pattern, like I had explained a little bit before. Very nice fit when we ordered it up. And part of why that has happened, getting into the scale-free network aspect of networks and the research, is that you could see, for example, Captain Y over there was an adopter on this particular day, and then he told a few of his friends who then sourced Captain Y as a reason why they he or she, whoever it was, then adopted that innovation / joined this particular community. Millbook, an online collaboration platform for a lot of DoD members. Also, bursty pattern. Nice fit. And some of the reason behind that, their biggest bursts were due to leadership giving guidance as far as the adoption of it. So again, that hypernode event / very influential node in the network. Self-proclaimed Islamic State. Again, bursty pattern. Nice fit. And going back into the eaches, if you will, taking a look at examples of people coming from the same place at the same day and then reporting for duty with the Islamic State. So, pass all of our tests, all of our standards as far as this theory goes. Some additional data sets that I took a look at, editors from Wikipedia, some of the insight there provided as well gave me the idea about some of the issues in innovation adoption and the chasm that's referred to a lot in innovation studies and ecology. Bursts can help explain what's going on there. The Church of Latter-day Saints as well, interestingly enough, also experienced bursts of adoption with regarding their innovation. And in particular, this one in the late 80s, I found out that there was a very popular Mormon movie that was put out during that time. Miss America pageant, also interestingly enough, bursty pattern and all, and tied to in 1933 with Roosevelt coming in, a great burst of adoptions to that innovation at the time. Some other data sets that I dug up in the National Archives over at the Smithsonian's Museum for American History. There's some bursty patterns there, but I need to further go into these and provide a bit more analysis, also with telegraph messaging. And in conclusion, these are very useful insights. There's a lot of work to do. Need more data sets. If you're aware of any that could help me out, please send those my way. And in addition, separate message. Thank you very much for all your support and participation in the Cyber Pavilion, AUSA Cyber Pavilion. Looking forward to next year, you all being a part of it. So with that, have a safe night.